All right, welcome back. There are some changes afoot, and I'm not really liking them. They affect the backbone of our economy and not in a really good way. Firstly, the number of births in America in 2024, they increased slightly from 2023, but the fertility rate declined, the Center for Disease Controls and Prevention said yesterday. So births rose 1% from 2023 to 2024, and the CDC said in the brief that that was just a small rally. The number of births, though, in 2024, get a load of this, was 3.62 million. And that's down from 3.9 million in 2010 and 16% lower than the peak of 4.3 million in 2007. That's not good. President Donald Trump, his administration, and members of Congress have said that the falling fertility rate is a big cause for concern. Now, here's another concern, if you ask me. Home prices reached a record high in June, adding more pressure to an already strained market. Now, the median price for homes sold in the month was $435,300, up 2% from this time last year. And the 24th month of year-over-year price increases, according to the National Association of Realtors. Meanwhile, sales of previously owned homes, they fell 2.7% on a monthly basis to a seasonally adjusted annual rate of 3.93 million. So no children and no houses. That's not good. Now, my next guest will have an opinion on this, I'm sure. Please welcome to the show, Luke Lloyd. Luke, there's something about being invested in the future. And if you don't have any kids and you don't have a house and you're renting all the time, you're not really invested in the future. And that changes the economy. It changes the way you look at things, and not for the good, if you ask me.
Well, that it all comes down to perspective and vision for the future, like you mentioned. So if you don't think there is going to be a future, or if you don't think that you have any kind of way to dig out of whatever hole you might be in 10, 20, 30 years down the road, you're living day to day. And when you live day to day, you can't plan out those big major changes in life. And, again, we always think this is maybe the first time this stuff has happened. No, this has happened all throughout history. And I always do go back to like the Roman Empire when it comes to talking about birth rates, and when it comes to maybe even some of the wealth disparities. The Roman Empire dealt exactly with what we're dealing with now, with a lot of the rich being so involved with their materialistic lifestyle that they didn't plan on having kids, and then the wealth disparities at the bottom, nobody could afford to have kids, and then the urbanization of housing being so crowded and moving people to cities essentially caused a lot of issues because people can't raise families when you're in small apartments in the city. So a lot of the things happening now, when all of us are being pushed to like these major cities, and then no one can afford to have kids at the bottom, and all the rich and famous are enjoying the life of luxuries. They're not wanting kids. You have these kind of issues in society, and then it kind of all implodes.
Right. And so exactly right. It falls in on itself if you don't have a strong, big, thick middle class that's happy and vibrant. And because if you don't have that, yes, it falls in on itself and it implodes. But think about it. You're just going to have the ultra uber, very few wealthy elite, and then everybody that's left is poor. That's communism, right? That's it right to a T to me. And so that's not success.
That's exactly right. And the thing we always need to go back to here is what does the chicken create the egg, or does the egg come up before the chicken kind of mentality, right? So what causes communism? Is it communism rear its head around the corner? Is it random, or is it caused by these issues? And what's interesting in societies, again, past and present, is anytime socialism and communism rears its head around the corner, it doesn't just come full force all at once. It keeps stacking on top of each other by little things that we allow to happen within societies. It can come back to the social safety nets we have. It can go back to the Federal Reserve System. It can go back to the gold, to get it off the gold standard. It can come back to UBI, which is kind of going to be around the corner. That's probably going to be a small stepping stone of more socialistic ideals. But what happens is people angry, people not understanding how the system works, vote in these bad policies or these bad politicians because it sounds good. These fairy tale worlds sound good when it comes to communism, socialism, Marxism. All of this stuff sounds really good in theory, but the thing is, it's not practical because human nature, for some reason, people on the left, and I was watching some videos today of people talking even about Palestine, and I don't want to bring that up specifically just by itself, but they posted a picture about how angry they were about the starvation of people in Palestine, and they posted a picture of food and water they were drinking and partying 10 minutes later. If they want to do something about that, these kind of crazy issues, why are they just taking in the fruits of labor, fruits of what we have here in America, and not actually getting boots on the ground and over there? There's a lot of kind of hypocrisy on that side. But my point is, the bigger point at play here is that society has it so good that people don't understand how bad we could have it. They vote in these policies of wealth disparities to redistribute wealth, and it makes things worse down the road. And they almost are hypocritical in the fact that they shoot themselves in the foot.
Yeah, I'm right with you there. And I would say this, the proliferation of the mamdamis and the guy in Minneapolis. I also feel kind of like inflation's too high, so the asset prices are too high. I can't afford a house. So that's depressing. And then if I can't live with anybody and afford a house, I'm not going to have any kids and bring kids into this horrible world we live in. I mean, that's a lot of the mentality too. And then I think that's how you get that mission creep of communism or socialism with these elected leaders, because they're speaking to a class of people that have almost given up. They've almost chucked in the towel, saying, I can't take it anymore. It's too expensive. I have nowhere good to live. I would like to be taken care of. I love what you have to say.
Well, look, I try to go to church every Sunday. I grew up Catholic. I am Catholic, and the cool thing, kind of from my perspective, is when I was in college, I kind of rebelled. Like I was trying to study every single kind of religion that kind of exists out there, and not to say this is a religious problem, because again, it's a bigger issue at play. But the thing is about religion, when it comes to like the Bible and things, it teaches you to get married, it teaches you to procreate, right? Mm-hmm. And it feels like the loss of religion in society can stem to not necessarily all of the issues, but the lack of moral foundation definitely has some sort of pull and some sort of reason why some of these issues exist. Because if you don't have any kind of moral reason to live or any purpose in life, like you said, whether it doesn't have to be kids, it doesn't have to be getting married, it doesn't have to be your job, but there is a lack of purpose. And when you lack purpose and you lack vision for the future, it does cause these issues, because what's the point in living in a lot of ways? And then you're so stressed day to day when it comes to financials, or what are you working for or towards, right? If you're not working towards or for anything or anyone, then again, why would you want to own a house? Why would you not save money? Why wouldn't you want to go spend every single dollar you have and go into debt to do it? Like, there are those kind of philosophies are why we're dealing with these issues. And religion, no matter what kind of religion it is, usually solves that problem and gives you a long-term vision for the future.
I'm glad you brought that up. I totally agree with you. I mean, it not usually solves, it probably always solves, and it's something that we need more of. You're exactly right. I appreciate you bringing that up. Thank you very much, Luke. Have a great weekend. Luke Lloyd coming to us from the Lloyd Financial Group in Covington, Kentucky.